I love the earth. It sustains and enables my life. My life depends on it. My ancestors' lives depended on it, and my children and grandchildren's lives will depend on it. That's why I want to spend a few minutes together today discussing desertification and soil erosion, what they are, why it matters, and how you can make a difference. So bear with me here while I share my screen with you. Okay, here we go. Go on the slideshow. All right, we're going to focus specifically on desertification and soil erosion in the United States, although it is a world issue that is being addressed. So, what are they? Soil erosion is actually a precursor to desertification, so we'll start there. So on the bottom right, we have this picture. This is part of a university study, Massachusetts University, where they found land in like the Midwest of the United States, where so much of our farmland is. And they found farmland that has been farmed and tilled for generations, pretty much since the Industrial Revolution, that was right up next to land that had never been farmed. So just regular prairie. They found all of the land that they could, and then all of this land, they measured the difference here. So you can see how dramatic that soil erosion was. So what they found is that the soil erodes on this farmland 2 millimeters every year. Now, over time, obviously, that's going to become a problem, and we'll talk about that more in just a second. Let me pull up this video to explain. Hold on. To explain desertification. Like I said, soil erosion leads to desertification. This is going to give you a good understanding of that.
Now, because the fate of water and carbon are tied to soil organic matter, when we damage soils, you give off carbon. Carbon goes back to the atmosphere.
Healthy soils absorb water and carbon dioxide. But when we destroy soil, it releases water and carbon dioxide. This dries out the soil and turns it into dust. The process is called desertification. And how we deal with it could determine the fate of more than just our climate.
Desertification is a fancy word for land that is turning to desert. And this happens only when we create too much bare ground.
All right. Okay, why does this matter? I'm sure you got some of your own impressions of that in this video. Desertification and soil erosion create less fertile soil for growing food. And all of that while the Earth, world, US populations are growing. So dead soil with all the topsoil gone doesn't grow food, and it creates food instability. You get less healthy plants in unfertile soil, and then you end up using more and more pesticides. Food instability because of desertification is already a problem in other places of the world. And you can imagine if all of our prairie land in the US became unusable because it was completely desertified, right? We already have the soil erosion. Next step down the road, if we don't change something, is desertification. You end up with more carbon emissions because, like in that video, the carbon and water go out. The plants bring the carbon into the soil. So that's one of the reasons that you end up with more carbon emissions with desertification. You also get an increase in drought because plants are part of the water cycle. All right, so some causes here, main causes of desertification and soil erosion. Number one cause of soil erosion, tilling. Tilling that we all just thought was harmless. Empty land, like the video said, overgrazing by cattle that aren't getting rotated on new land. Deforestation, one crop farming, population growth, and heavy meat and dairy diets, and basically the impact that that has on farmland and the need for cattle to use up so much of the farmland for their feed, as well as just their ranges. Okay, solutions. No-till farming. This is being employed in many places around the world, especially Brazil has really grabbed onto this. And there is some desert in Brazil, even though in our minds, Brazil is not a desert, right? So no-till, there are many farms in the US also doing this. Cover crops, meaning you're planting stuff that's so that you don't have bare soil over the winter. Rotating fields for cattle, afforestation, which is the opposite of deforestation, and agroforestry, which is something you can look up if you want to know more about what that is. Crop rotation, the US is good at this one, although that by itself is not going to be quite enough. Sustainable and regenerative agriculture in general, employing a lot of those methods. And eating more plants is good to help all of this. The plan. So we have from the UN down and from cities up, we can work together. So the UN already has separate organizations, as do different countries and different cities, for environmental sustainability, and desertification and soil erosion are part of this, right? So down to the third one, in these organizations, expect and measure action. Be specific, SMART goals. Have people in your organizations return and report. Come up with plans together that you can make true change with. Educate the public and your committees with purpose and vision. People have got to catch the vision of why it matters to them, why it matters to their posterity, right? Provide support so that it's easier for people to create change, so that it's less scary. Help provide grants and expert hands-on training, provide incentives. Change screen. It's stuck. Oh, there we go. Okay. So on an individual level, we can all also contribute to loving and sustaining the soil under our feet, the soil that we have stewardship over, right? So get involved locally. If you don't have soil of your own, or if you do, get involved locally with sustainable farming, environmental sustainability. Educate yourself so that you can talk intelligently with people about it and help them know some simple changes that they can make. Plant a tree that sustains that soil and that piece of ground. And then share your efforts, your little things that you're doing to bless the earth, nourish the soil. Share those along with your why on social media to inspire others. And lastly, eat more plants. So I have here some of the main citations that I use. I want to highly recommend checking out some documentaries on Amazon Prime. There's Kiss the Ground and Common Ground. And just go ahead, and I encourage you to love the earth, love your soil. Our lives depend on it.